Hello, this is Dr. Vision here, and welcome to my ranking of each of the Doctors from 1 to 13 and ones in between. Now, I've never done one of these lists before, but I've seen other users do them, so I thought I'd join in. I'll try and do some other rankings as well, like series ones and that later on, but I'm going to start off with the easiest of the rankings to do, in my personal opinion, I think, is ranking each Doctor into these lists here. So yeah, I'll keep it simple. I won't change any of the categories here. So for ease of, we'll do it in chronological order, going through, starting with the First Doctor. Now, I will rank the first and second Doctors, but I will have to do an updated ranking at some point because I haven't seen all their stories, all their episodes, and so I can't give them an equal ranking compared with the other Doctors. So I'll leave them out for now. I might come back to them actually. So we'll start with the third Doctor, John Pertwee. Now, John Pertwee, was one of the first Doctors, one of the first classic Doctors I ever saw after watching the new series. My friend at school, who's also a fan, he gave me some DVDs to borrow of the classic series because I hadn't seen any before, and I think one of them was the Five Doctors, and there were some Pertwee ones in there as well. I think it was the Time Warrior. So, and I took to it instantly because it reminded me very much of the Rusty Davies era, because obviously a lot of it's set on Earth, and a lot of Rusty Davies is set on Earth as well. So it reminded me a lot of that, and I really took to John Pertwee. He was a very, like, you won't mess with him. He's a very gentlemanly Doctor. He looked after his companions well, which I liked. I admired Joe Grant and all that. But he was very, he had his Venusian Aikido, whatever, and his martial arts, and he could easily defend himself, and he could stand up to bullies and authority figures and stuff. So I really took to John Pertwee. So for that, I'm going to put him in B category, which isn't bad at all, because there will be a bit of bias because of my affinity towards the new series Doctors. I haven't seen him once, but he's very high up. I did like John Pertwee. Moving on, Tom Baker, Fourth Doctor. I watched a lot of his episodes last year on BritBox, so I can see why he was a fan favourite. Obviously, he was very much embodied the character of the Doctor. He was very good. Story highlights like the Talons of Weng Chiang. I know it's not got a very good reputation these days because of the racial elements within it, but I found that kind of story is very, it's one I can sit through and not get bored, because trouble with Classic Who, it can be you can get very invested, or you can just sit there yawning. It's one or the other, kind of. But a lot of his stories were very strong, especially in the early series, so I will put him up here with Pertwee as well, because these are my two top classic Doctors already here, as you can see. Yeah, so Tom Baker, I can see why, he's the go-to Doctor of the classic series, the favourites. Like David Tennant is kind of the mainstream favourite of New Who. So, he captured that popularity, that affinity with viewers and stuff. So, yeah. Moving on, Fifth Doctor, where are you? Peter Davison. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get much shtick for this or not, but I watched his era, and yeah, he had a good few stories in there, but I don't know. It was very dull. I thought very lackluster. His episodes, most of them, And him as a doctor, I found him very bland, very vanilla, as people say. I just couldn't take to his portrayal. He just didn't seem to have much about him, He either shouted or he was calm. There wasn't much in between. Obviously, the most quintessential English doctor dressed up in his cricket clothes and the stick of celery and stuff. Yeah, there were some highlights in there. I always liked the visitations. I just saw that, and obviously the case of Androzani. Such a shame, really, because it's in that episode I could see flashes of the Doctor in there more than you see in many of his other adventures. So yeah, no, I couldn't take to him really. I appreciate that he's David Tennant's favourite Doctor, or one of his, because he grew up watching him, and now incidentally he's his father-in-law, but we won't get into that. So yeah, he's gonna have to go in D, I'm afraid, because I just couldn't take to him. He's not bad. None of these are bad, really. But yeah, I couldn't really take to him. Sixth Doctor, Colin Baker. Now, I've always enjoyed Colin Baker more. I've always enjoyed Colin Baker's portrayal a lot more than other people have. Like, he's very abrasive, obviously. But he does soften down a bit as he goes along. Yeah, I don't know what to say about him, really. He had good control, like when he's facing enemies and stuff. Obviously his clothes are ridiculous, but what can you do about it? But yeah, I like Colin Baker. Not as much as the others, obviously, but yeah, I think I put him in C. What else to say about him, really? But he's not. I wouldn't put him at the bottom like other people do. There was something about him that kind of raised him above some of the others. Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. Yeah, I liked him eventually. Like, I went through all the seasons in order. And obviously, when he's in his clown phase to start with, and then he comes out more dark and sinister and manipulative or whatever. Yeah, I did like him, yes. There's definitely a lot of doctory characteristics in there. Especially when he was placed with Ace. There's some good stories in there, like Ghost Light and Greatest Show in the Galaxy. It was always a standout remembrance of the Daleks and what have you. So yeah, I'd put him up here with Colin, I think, C. Paul McGann, another difficult one because he's only got a TV movie. Yeah, I did like the TV movie. I don't know. Trouble is, he's got all the Big Finish stuff, and I do like Big Finish, but I'm not really an audio kind of person, so I can't get as invested in the audios as I can in the TV series. So I haven't listened to any of his adventures, but I'm sure he's brilliant on it. You had the Night of the Doctor, of course, which was very, very good. So I think I'll just put him into C because, like I said, I don't know, I haven't seen much of his stories, especially the audio stuff. So I can't really put him any higher than that. But yeah, put him up there. John Hurt. Now, John Hurt's on this list. Legend of an actor, of course. He fitted in very well with the 50th, I thought. Very good portrayal of the War Doctor, the tired, broken, and worn out Doctor who's been fighting this time war for centuries, or however long it went on for. Yeah, he was very good in the Day of the Doctor. It's a shame we couldn't have seen more of him, really. I know he did a few audio box sets before his death, John Hurt, but I haven't listened to them. But yeah, I liked his portrayal of a battered War Doctor in the 50th special. So I'm not going to put him there because I really enjoyed his performance still. So go and see with these other Doctors as well. Moving on to the Ninth Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston. Now he's my first Doctor, like a lot of people, because I did watch the show from when it started back in 2005, but for some bizarre reason I don't have the memories of watching it, even though I know I did, and my family have said I did, because I was only 7, but I should still remember. But I don't really, so unfortunately I don't have this fondness and nostalgia for Eccleston and Series 1 that a lot of people have, a lot of fans have, which is a shame, because I should have them memories if I did watch it, so I don't know where they've gone. But yeah, so I don't have that fondness for Series 1, as a lot of fans do, unfortunately, but I still hold him in high regard, because he started it off, but he's a very strong performance, because you've got that really battered and bruised and angry side to him coming straight out of the Time War and stuff. And then you've got that really kind of sarky side to him as well, which I love, just coming out with really direct, no nonsense comments and stuff, which is just, some of them are really hilarious, you know, and that. But yeah, I mean, them scenes in Dalek were just outstanding. The way he's fighting against a Dalek, you know, spitting at it and stuff, such fury in him, you know, it's great. So yeah, he's still holding in very high regard, Eccleston, so I will have to put him in A, because he's just one of the first Doctors I saw, and his performance is held up very well, even though he was only in 13 episodes. So yeah, moving on, Mr. David Tennant, of course, 10th Doctor. Now, I don't want him to be any bias here, because I know there is quite a bit of negativity for him these days, unfortunately, because obviously he's the fan favourite and what have you and that, but I think it's justified, because a lot of people grew up with David Tennant, including myself, and I do have very fond memories of his series 3 and 4 especially, because that's where my own passion and obsession for the show peaked. You know, I'd have to be watching it every week, even if we were out for the day. I'd have to come home and watch it, because I couldn't miss it, that kind of thing, which doesn't happen now, obviously. I know we've got the catch up and everything, but I still probably wouldn't. But yes, Tennant, wonderful performance. What I really admire about Tennant is the way his non-verbal communication, the way his face can just portray 1,000 emotions at once. You know, he can just look that way, and the audience, it just kills the audience to just break down, because they know what he's feeling and stuff. And it's just brilliant, you know. That's what makes his Doctor stand out a lot, I think. Obviously, he's goofy, and he can be really dark and sinister when he needs to be, like the time Little Victorious or whatever. But yeah, he's my childhood Doctor. He'll always have a big place in my heart, so he will have to go into the S tier. Sorry if anyone disagrees with that, but you know, he's brought me a lot of pleasure and entertainment over the years, and there's still some of my favourite series that he was in. So yeah, great Doctor. Moving on, Matt Smith. Now, 11th Doctor. I've had a bit of a strange relationship with Matt Smith. I was very took me a long time to get over David Tennant's departure, because it was kind of, obviously I'd witnessed the first generation from 9 to 10, but I don't think I really paid much attention or understood it. But then 10 to 11 was the big one, and it took a lot out of me. I did grieve 10 a lot for a long while, really. I really didn't take to Matt Smith at all. I couldn't, comprehend him, taking David Tennant's place, and I didn't like him for a good year or so, I think. It was well into Series 6 that I started to kind of appreciate his performance and really get used to him and stuff. Then, of course, by the time he left, I'd happily have had him there for another 6 years, that kind of thing. But yeah, looking back, he really, epitomised, he really got it right. The young man in an old man's body thing, it could be really playful, really childish, then you could see the age in his eyes and in them moments, And he was just fantastic, Bow ties, Amy Pond, Clara Oswald, everything. Great. Good episodes as well in there. Very good episodes. So, yes. He goes up here for me with David Tennant because, I don't know, he really just, he became one of my favourites towards the end of his run. So, yeah, very good performance. Loved him very much in the role. 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi. Similar story to Capaldi, not as bad though. I couldn't take his performance in Series 8. He was such a contrast to Matt Smith's kind of cheery and young persona, and suddenly Doctor was older, grumpier, darker, But I Series 8, looking back on it now, I do enjoy it more, but at the time, I did think, oh, if he doesn't lighten up a bit, I'm not sure I'll, continue watching him like that. And luckily, he did a bit in Series 9. He got a bit more playful because he got his guitar, and I think they achieved that balance there between he could be dark when he needed to, but he could be a bit more, light-hearted, but he could still be rude. And looking back, I've kind of become a bit of a Capaldi myself, on the hugs front and the being rude sometimes. Like, oh, why are they talking? That kind of thing. 'Cause he doesn't understand it, which is hilarious looking back. But he was a very funny Doctor, very phenomenal performances, like with the Zygon episodes and Heaven's Sent and everything. There's some great episodes in there. So he'll always have a high place on my list because he was just great Doctor, especially towards the end. So put him up there in A class with Eccleston. Right, so next up is the current incumbent and about to regenerate Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, the 13th. So, yeah, I haven't had the best relationship with this Doctor. Like a lot of fans, the writing hasn't been brilliant the last few years with Chris Chibnall in charge. To be honest, I couldn't stand her in the first series 11, because she was just constantly cheery and childish and messing around, and it just grated on me. I just couldn't stand her performance because she just seemed to have no serious bone in her body almost. And I don't think it suits Jodie Whittaker too much to be too goofy and and comical and light-hearted. I think she thrives on kind of serious acting and dialogue and stuff. So when Series 12 came along and they gave her more serious content, it's then I thought, this is more like it. There's much more of a Doctor in there. All the spiteful stuff and Timeless Child and God knows what. But I think she started to come into her own a bit there. I started to take more notice of her when she was being serious and stern and stuff. I thought, yes, this is what the Doctor is. I can see it coming through now and stuff. Since then, she's been hit and miss, really. I don't know. I'm not really vying with her performance. I just don't really like a Doctor very much, which is a shame, being the first female Doctor in that. It should have been, a lot better, really, but yeah, she's had her moments, Spyfall, like I said, she was good in that. She's coming. I think they should have made her a lot darker, I think, for some reason. Like, it's alright to be funny sometimes, but I just found it very irritating. She's just constantly and waving the sonic screwdriver around all the time like a wand or something, Just I want to grab it off her because it annoys me, because she's using her brain. She'd be using that to work things out, Tennant used to lick his finger, he used to lick things, and I think she's done it once and stuff, but she always has to go, oh, there's a hole in the floor, scan it. Guess what he has? There's a hole in the floor, stating the obvious when she could use her eyes or use something else to work it out, and it just annoys me. So I'm hoping they'll tone it down now, sonic screwdriver, because she's really overused it. I know Matt Smith, you overused it as well, but this is on a different scale, I think. But yeah, I haven't really. She has some good episodes. The historicals are very good. I've enjoyed most of those. And Flux had its moments. The two best episodes in there, I think, War of the Sontarans and Village of the Angels. Very good episodes, good performances. And The Haunting of Villa Diodati, where she finally came into her own with it, I think. But yeah, apart from three performances, I just don't really vie with her. So she's going to have to go in D place with Fifth Doctor Peter Davison. Oh, we've got Roof Doctor on here, Fugitive Doctor. Now, we haven't seen much of Roof, very sadly, because I don't know why. I know she's not the main Doctor, but you think she would have had more than one episode dedicated to her, you know. She was introducing Fugitive of Jadoon, threw everyone, another Doctor into the mix. We still don't know where she fits in. I don't know whether Chibnall's going to bother clarifying that or not in the final special. Hopefully she'll crop up, because she got a really crappy cameo in Once Upon a Time, when really she should have been in there a lot more, instead of Jodie speaking all her lines. Yeah, a lot of people said that she really outshone Jodie, you know, in her performance. She was much more, you know, confident, much more kind of darker, and she had more of a screen presence, which I do agree with. And I think she makes a kind of much more compelling Doctor on screen or whatever. So yeah, we haven't seen much of her. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of her in the final special going forward. I think she deserves to be up here alongside John Hurt, to be honest, because we haven't seen much of her like John Hurt, but still, she captivated viewers for the time that she was on screen, and she deserves that place up there. Right, so we're down to the final two Doctors. Like I said, I haven't really watched the episodes properly, so I can't give them a proper ranking, but from what I've seen so far, I think I'll put William Hartnell in C, because he's good, but yeah, you know, I've got to see more of him. I really don't know his Doctor very well, so I'm putting him in C for now. And Patrick Troughton, I've seen a few stories like The Mine Robber and Tomb of the Cybermen, so but I expect, going by fan favour and everything, but other for what I've seen of him as well, I think he will be up there, I think. But for now, I'll put him in C. But I suspect he might be alongside Pertwee and Tom Baker. It comes down to it. So yes, there's my ranking of all the Doctors so far. I expect you won't agree. I don't expect you to agree. Every fan has their different rankings and their different opinions. But, you know, if you want to offer an opinion on my ranking, then please feel free to leave a comment below. I do like the video, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I do hope to do a few more of these tier rankings in the future. They're quite enjoyable to do. And I'll definitely do one for the series, and might do one, if there's a logo one, I might do that as well, if I can find these templates to do. So yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until the next video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.